This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Port Orford City Planning Commission to order. It's 5:31. Roll call. Commissioner Lawton,
Present.
Commissioner Head,
Here.
Commissioner Boydston.
Present.
Commissioner Lovendall is in Europe. She will not be attending. And Commissioner Thielen is here. Minutes from the 13th, last meeting, August 13th. Does anyone have any comments about that? Yes, Joseph?
The time stamps are highlighted, so I will have to go in and actually finish putting those in. So when you motion to approve, make sure to motion to approve with the addition of corrected timestamps.
Okay.
I was at the last meeting, and it says I was virtual.
All right.
Maybe wishful thinking, but.
Maybe.
So you were present. Oh, yes, I remember you here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
My name is spelled with a T.
Ed
My name is spelled with a T. Boydston.
Boydston. I thought so.
Yeah.
Stun.
I
T-O-N
apologize.
at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame autocorrect,
Ton.
but I will make sure to correct it.
But you're putting an idea in our head.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I'll get it corrected.
Okay, anything else from the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Under.
Let's take a vote. Commissioner Boydston,
Aye.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Thielen. Yes. Minutes, public comments. Are there any, does anyone want to have any public comments to make? And that would be comments about anything on the agenda except for the public hearing, which will have its own comment section. If not, let's move to the public hearing. So this is a public hearing for a conditional use permit 2024-02, the raised bottle drop, which we have here on our staff report, and which we had a meeting from last month, thank you, which we continued over to this meeting. And I'd like to, I have a comment. I think we can discuss this before we open the meeting. And that was, I noticed that the location, there was, it seemed to me like the best location was on the south side of Ray's, in that, towards the back, where the parking spots begin. And then I think we mentioned it, and I think Joseph said that that was city property, and it was on the right of way. And I got to thinking about that, and I was looking in my code book, and our ordinance specifically at 12-24-40, the city will grant right-of-ways, permission to use right-of-ways by franchise, license, and permits for that sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me like it's a public service kind of a thing, and I would think that the city would, this council or the city manager, whoever, would grant that spot if that was a place that they wanted to have it. So it looks like the best spot to me, so I'm hoping they want it there, and I'm hoping the city will do it, because it just seems like it's out of the way, trucks won't be an issue, and anyway, I just wanted to say that
I agree.
before we get going, before we actually open up the hearing, and maybe they'll want to address that, and maybe they won't, I don't know.
How did this other location get established, the second?
Joseph, you want to address that?
When you say the second, do you mean the previous suggestion of along the highway, or the current suggestion of on the like western side, northwestern side of the parking lot?
Northwestern, right.
I believe that they took the comments from the previous public hearing where we had numerous citizens basically recommend that spot, so it wasn't near the highway. Plus, we had previously discussed on the south side, but then they realized that the south and the west both are really close to or actually in the right of ways, so they didn't seem viable.
Right.
I believe they didn't want to go to both the planning commission and city council and have to get approval from both, because that increased the likelihood of one of them saying no. So, maybe we could, if we do say south side, maybe we could say, but if the city council says no, then current location would be acceptable if city council does not approve.
Because I think there's power there too. Whereas the spot on the north side, I think they got a ways to go to get power.
Now, those would be questions for the contractor, really.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else on that before we open up the hearing? All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the hearing. It's 5:35. I'm opening this hearing on conditional use permit 2024-02, the raised bottle drop. And I just want to ask, because I have to do this, if anyone on the commission has had any contact with anyone involved in the permit?
Nope.
No, I have not. And so if anyone has anything to say about the for or against the conditional use permit, they need to say it here at the hearing. If they want to, if there was going to be an appeal on for something, they would have to bring it up now as evidence for whatever they want to say later. So, and then we'll go ahead and go with the testimony of the proponent for or the applicant of the conditional use permit, and then we'll have we can ask questions, and then if anyone's against it, they can speak. And then after that, we'll close the meeting. We'll close this portion, and then we will discuss among ourselves and vote what we think. So, is there someone here to speak for the conditional use permit?
This is
I'm the
Hillary
contractor.
Barber from Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative. I'd be happy to speak.
Would you repeat?
This is Hillary Barber. I work for the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative. I'm the business development director and our retail relations director, and I'd be delighted to speak as a proponent of the project.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And I apologize for not being there in person. I had to be in Central Oregon today, where it was smoky. I would have rather been with y'all in Port Orford. So thank you very much. And I appreciate, we at OBRC sincerely appreciate the commission taking this up and your consideration, and also your thorough deliberation from the first meeting. I would be happy to speak to how this project came about. Every year, OBRC submits to the Oregon legislature a network access and expansion report. And Port Orford was identified in our 2023 report as an area that we would like to bring our premium green bag program to the community. We opened a processing facility in Coos Bay, and we added the green bag program in Brookings. And we saw an opportunity to work with one of our retail partners with Ray's in Port Orford to open a Bottle Drop Express, which is the container proposal that you're considering now. OBRC has over 100 of these sites. We're the statewide, I should have started by just saying briefly that we're the statewide organization the cooperative of beverage distributors that implements the bottle bill in Oregon. And we have over 100 of these Bottle Drop Express and Dealer Redemption Centers, which are the green bag containers and drop sites throughout Oregon. Some are containers, some are bag rooms. It's really very retailer specific and just depends on what the retailer's goals are, what the community needs, and how we can work out the logistics. So we had partnered successfully with Ray's in Lapine on a Bottle Drop Express model. And that was going very well. And so we approached them again about the idea of doing something in Port Orford, and they were an enthusiastic yes. So that's a little bit about how the project came to be. In terms of the actual location of the container, this I think is our third attempt at a site. And I think you're right. I'm not sure which one of you brought up the question of the original site that we had looked at was the one that you spoke to earlier, where there were right-of-way concerns. And I think we just thought it was a no-go. I don't think we even, knew that it was an option or didn't feel that it would be a suitable option to request, whatever the appropriate thing is that we would request to be able to use that space. So we started looking at other locations within the footprint. And then we selected the site that was that you reviewed last month. We heard you loud and clear. We heard the concerns. And so we relocated to this current site that you have before you now. It is right next to the store, and where there is power very close by. So power is not a concern at the location that you're reviewing right now. They have reverse vending machines there, and we can draw power very easily from that site. So that's not a concern to us. But if it is the commission's desire that we go back to the original idea, and I think I would just need to understand a little bit better, what the process is, and what it is that we would be, that we would actually need to do if that is your desire. I just want to, if it's all right, if I could take one more minute, unless there are questions, I just wanted to address a couple of additional concerns that I heard come up at the last meeting. But should I pause there and just ask if there are any questions? Okay. So a couple of other concerns I heard were about cleanliness. And I just wanted to let you know that OBRC, we provide a courtesy cleaning of these containers and or bag rooms inside and out twice a year. We do them in the spring and the fall, and we coordinate that with the retailer. So that is, and then the retailer is responsible for kind of day-to-day, just sweeping, tidying, picking up any loose containers on the inside and the interior of the container itself. I also heard questions about, would there be garbage? We really don't tend to see that. People are coming to drop off their full green bags of product and go to the store. The store will have a kiosk inside where people can manage their accounts, withdraw funds from their accounts, check their balances. And the store will also sell the boxes of green bags that customers need to take home with them and then fill up with their redeemable containers and bring back. So that customers really kind of know what they're there to do when it comes to dropping off those green bags. And we also have a lot of information available. We work really closely with our retailers, and I'm not sure if John Napier is there from C&K or from Ray's, but I think if he is able to speak after I'm done, it'd be great for you all to hear from him. But I'll pause there and take any questions that you may have of me about OBRC and the Green Bag Program.
Does anyone have any questions for her?
I was just wondering if Joseph could
Can you bring up the picture with the new proposed site?
Yes, I can. Just give me
Thank you.
1 second.
As to the process for the city council, I'm not clear on what that process is, but as it says in the statute, it's a permit or a license. There are a couple of different, there's I think 3 levels: of permission, a license, a permit. And probably it's just a motion
It's not, didn't you
to
go
do it at the city council and they just vote yes or no.
A right-of-way use
From what I've seen I've seen right-of-way requests to
garden in the right of way?
to use the right-of-way for particular things, and it's just a vote of the council. I'm not on the council, but it seems like this is a good thing for the city, and I would think it would be a good thing. It is out of the way. It's just in the parking space. It would take up, I think, 3 spaces, and they would still have access.
I wonder if, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Joseph was going to say something, I think.
So just the process for the right-of-way permit, I can email you the paperwork, or it's available on our website. It's just basically one additional form you would need to fill out in addition to what's already been filled out. And then rather than that coming to the planning commission, that would go to the city council for approval. They don't look at all of them, but I imagine they would want to look at this one because it's a permanent structure going in a relatively public location, where they would then review sort of what the proposal is themselves and vote on it, whether or not they want to give access or give the use for the right of way for the purpose. And my big concern with going down that route is that they can grant it, but then they can also revoke it basically at any time in the future. So just be aware of that if that's the route that, we end up going down.
And I think I would also say that it would be a temporary, this is a temporary, you said the word permanent, but it is a temporary type
Structure, yeah.
installation, I think, by
our definition, since it isn't going in on a foundation, at least not the way that, a normal building would, then it is technically not considered permanent under our code, because the way it is secured to the ground is through anchoring and not through being placed in a foundation.
Okay.
At least if I'm understanding our code correctly.
All right. So that's a synopsis of how that might go. And you had another point you were going to make?
Sorry, for Joseph.
Barber, yes, Ms. Barber.
Oh, excuse me. I think a question I would have, or a couple of questions I would have, is the concern with the location that you have before you, that it is still within line of sight of the highway? Or I'm just trying to understand so that if we do go this route and move the container and apply for the right of way, I understand what problem, we're solving for.
I don't think there's a problem. I don't think there's a problem with your new location.
Okay.
It seems like a better location. I will probably use a service myself because I would probably do the bags. I would prefer to just come on the side street and not enter the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be less congestion in the parking lot, close to the store. But that's not. I mean, I would be in favor of either place myself. I don't really care, but I think it is a better location.
Okay.
Personally.
May I ask one more question? If I think I would have to get a little more information. There was a comment made that the council could revoke the right of way. So we would have to, I would assume if I don't know under what circumstances or conditions that can be done. But I would want to know a little bit more about that. Just for our own, and for the store as well, and for the customer, for everybody. And then would the planning commission, offer to the city council? Does the planning commission offer to the city council, we reviewed this and we we endorse it as well and we urge you to approve it, or is it a completely independent and separate
Yes.
procedure?
Part of our role is to make recommendations to the city council.
Okay.
And that could be something we could vote on and actually do. It would be a formal recommendation.
Okay. Okay.
I would like to-
Okay.
Our planner Shoji would like to make a comment.
I've been in a lot of cities who use their right of ways for different things. And the council doesn't normally just willy-nilly decide, well, we don't like that there. There would have to be some issue. Maybe they needed to get into the right of way for some reason, you know, like there was pipes in there or something, or maybe, I mean, we all put structures in our alleys and things like that. And they don't come and just tell us to take it out. But if they need to do something, they can always tell us, but they hardly ever do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, there's usually a reason.
So I'm sure they would evaluate that ahead of time if there were water
Yeah,
pipes under
yeah.
the proposed location or something.
Joseph?
Just sort of to expand on what Crystal said, I've been here for a year and a half and I've never seen the city council actually revoke one of the permits. It's just now that the city council is looking a little more at depth in them the past couple months. It's something that has been reiterated once or twice to me. And seeing as this is a structure that once it's in, it's going to be difficult to move it. I wanted, you to be apprised of that. I imagine the only reason they would be like what was brought up, where the city has some reason to need to get to where underneath where the bottle drop would be, or if we just received an inordinate amount of complaints about it. But even then, I don't think that complaints alone would move the city council to take action necessarily, at least not on its own. Although we are about to get a new city council here in about 2 or 3 months, so who knows?
So yeah, I have a question about the trucks that come in.
Mhm.
This new proposed location is convenient for the trucks as well to navigate the parking lot?
No, we had to work an arrangement, and we do this with other retailers as well. So we were concerned about having our trucks have to back in off of Highway 101. We've made an arrangement with the store where we provide the store with a rack, if you will. It's kind of a big industrial rolling rack. And they can rack the bags inside the container and then wheel them around where there's already a storage container behind the store and load them into the container. That's currently where they're storing their hand count bags that go through those RVMs, and their RVM bags. And our driver picks them up out of the container that's already located in the back of the store.
So this might be outside the scope of the hearing, but does this create extra work for Ray's or the employees?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Please come up to the microphone and identify yourself, sir.
Okay. My name is John Napier. I'm the district manager.
John
Napier.
Napier.
Napier. Thank you.
There you go. I'm the district manager for the store. First, I think it's a great thing we can service we can provide for the community. It's a great alternative to the reverse vending machine where you got to go one by one. I think it's a great service for what we can do for our customers, and that's kind of the way we see it. As far as extra work for the store, I don't think it'd be anything extra. If anything, it might take some pressure off of those machines where we have to go out and service them all the time, right? They get jammed up, they get full. The more customers that we get to use the green bag, I think it works better for us, and I think it works better for you guys too. Standing in line doing that one by one, it's painful sometimes. And I do know there's a concern with the cleanliness, right? And just like, I don't know if most of you probably know Terry, you probably shop in the store. He's very passionate about the community. We would definitely do our part to make sure it stays clean and not an eyesore for the community. So.
John, I have a question with regard to that. There is no water available for cleaning. Is that correct?
No water on the outside of the store.
According to the report, there's currently no water connections available. Is that the case?
To the new structure.
Mm.
I don't believe there would. I think Hillary might answer that better, but there is water hookups on the outside of the store. So if we needed to run a hose to it and spray it out or something like that, we could definitely handle that if that became an issue.
And how do you see the store doing the routine cleaning other than when they show up? I think it was twice a year that they clean it. What would be your schedule for cleaning it?
I mean, we'd have a weekly routines similar to what we do on the machines, right? We have to clean those actually daily, right? Just to keep them functioning. So it'd be something we'd be checking on daily and then actually cleaning the area. I'd say at least once a week, make sure it stays presentable.
Commissioner,
How do you feel about that north side location as opposed to the south side as opposed?
I think we would want to do whatever's right for the community. I think whatever the consensus is, I think operationally we can make it work either way. But I think we'd want you guys to be happy with the location as well.
So the south side location, is that down by the stop sign by
Yeah.
by Idaho?
so yeah, we can talk about, yes, it's there are about 20 feet or 25 feet east of the corner of the building, the parking, it started for striping.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were to put it there, the trucks could still come up directly up to the back of it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it would fit within
Is that the picture of it?
the parking. It doesn't show the parking stripes, and that picture
Right
is actually
over
not correct at the very bottom
Yeah.
there. But yes, on that where the yellow is, that's
Mhm.
basically kind of where it is.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's across the street from the library, and that's a pretty wide street there, and it would sit within the parking area. The parking stripes come out about 10 feet.
Yeah, that one would probably be more out of the way
I would
than the
think
other
so.
one. Yeah.
But would you still have an issue with the right of way from the street?
It would be sitting in the right of way of the street.
So whichever side, there's an issue with regard to the right of way. Is that correct?
There's no right of way. If the location they're looking at on the parking lot does not involve the right of way, but the parking is in the right of way also.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's
Right.
Right.
it's
It
not
would
as
be
if
in
it's
the park.
street. It's not in the street, but it's in the right of way.
It would be in the parking spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it'd be in the parking spot.
People hardly ever go park that far away from the store.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we should limit our talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let these folks say where that's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
conceivably we could approve both locations,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever, if you could get it on the south side, great. And if you couldn't, you'd still.
Yeah, I agree.
I know you want to move forward with this.
We do. We think it's positive for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you want to address about that?
I think
And Ms. Barber, did you have any more to?
Yes, please. Actually, if you don't mind if I ask my contractor a question who's on the phone. Robert, do you recall the
muted.
power
You're muted.
situation? Oh,
I
sorry.
have not looked at that side. I haven't looked at that side, but we could
Okay.
do a directional boring and get there. I was told, is it Coos County? I can't remember now. We've got so many of these going on. I talked to Coos County and they said that they probably would not allow that to cross over to put it on the right of way.
He said what?
I talked to
Did
Coos
they say
County,
I think he's,
Curry County. I'm sorry, Curry County,
Who's
Cur-
Yeah,
Curry
Could-
County.
Curry County.
Curry County.
And
Say that
and
slowly.
the permit
We're not.
department, the permit department said that I probably wouldn't be able to put it there because it wouldn't get approval. but I could try.
But it wouldn't need approval from the county. No,
just
from the city. Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, there might also be utility easement along that side of the right of way from,
We'd have to find out.
Yeah.
from the county, for electricity. Now that he brought it up, that might be the case. Although if it's just the city right of way that would be the issue, a right of way permit would help alleviate that. I could make a call to the permitting department and see if I can get a conversation with one of their permitting techs to see what the situation would be like.
Okay.
Yeah, for the south side at least.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Barber?
No, thank you. I guess I would just like to leave clear about what the course of action is.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna discuss it and make a decision. Yeah, and right now. So
Okay,
we're not going.
thank you.
We may open up. We can always open it up and ask you another question. If so, stick with this. Okay. Would someone else like to speak? Yes, please come up to the microphone and introduce yourself, where you live, and
Pamela Burnt,
Pamela
43691 US 101 Port Orford. I just had a question for Hillary on the process. Can you let me know what happens with the recycled product once it leaves? Thank you.
Yes, happy to answer that question. Thank you for the question. So the material that comes in through from the Port Orford community and through Ray's will be trucked up to our Coos Bay Processing Center. The green bags are emptied by our operators. We have a cool counting technology that's actually uses AI to immediately count and credit customer accounts. With the green bags, you may be familiar, customers put a QR code sticker on those bags, which gets scanned on the by the operators that are in the processing centers, and it associates that bag and those containers with our customers, that customer's account. So anyway, the bags, we say within 3 to 7 days. I think mine are always within like 2 to 4. Counted and credited, and then the material itself is sorted and compacted and trucked up and further consolidated for recycling. All 100% of our material is recycled domestically. All of the PET, the plastic, is recycled in St. Helens, Oregon at ORPAT. The aluminum is sent by rail to the Midwest and to the South. The glass is recycled in Portland at Glass to Glass at OI. And so we're very proud of that. I should have mentioned, just a couple things about Oregon. We lead the nation in our redemption rate. Last year, we were at 90.5%. OBRC, we had more than 2 billion containers come back through the system. So there's very little that's left on the table. Oregonians are great at redeeming our bottles and cans, and the bottle bill is a pretty popular program. We're very proud to partner with communities and retailers and administer it. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Yes.
Do any commissioners have any questions for our applicants? Or would anyone else, is anyone online that would like to speak for or against? Okay, I'm going to close this hearing at 6 o'clock, 6:01. And now we can talk about it.
I like the idea of approving both places, whatever works best for them. I think either place would be good. I agree that the current proposed spot might cause some congestion. I have no idea how many people will be stopping to drop off bags, but
Yeah.
people do park there to use the current bottle drop and to go into the store. And So, I mean, I think if it's possible for them to have it in the other location too, that I think we should, I would approve both places.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that south side location unless there is an easement issue. There could be power, sewer, water that we can't be setting up.
Better access, I would think.
Well, the truck could drive right up to it too.
It seems to be the best look logistically and visually. It seems to be, there's also the issue of the accessory. It's an accessory building, and if it's right next to the other building, it's more of an accessory building than, I mean, that's what our code says, but it just seems like a better location. But I too am in favor of basically approving either one. I guess we could recommend. So I guess I would be in favor of improving either one and making a recommendation to the city council. I mean, if they would like to move forward with it, that they grant the right of way. And that'll maybe help them if they do decide to do it on the south side. It'll help them, give them a leg up on it.
Yeah, I agree.
The trash issue we addressed last time, and we thought a trash can would be a good idea. And I think I've pulled back from that's a good idea. I think it should make some more work for the store. And if this doesn't generate trash, why put a trash can out there? Trash cans
It'll fill up with other stuff.
it'll fill up with other stuff,
Oh, yeah.
especially if it's on the south side by the library.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I don't know if any of you guys have ever used these deals. You buy the bags for like 10 or 15 cents. You take them home. When they're full, you put a little sticker on there, and then you go in there and there's a chute. You drop it inside the bottle drop, it goes in there, and then it credits your account. So you have like a little bank account.
Awesome.
I still got $29
To use that raise.
in Albany. Yeah, so it's a pretty good deal. And in some places, like Fred Meyer, when I lived in Albany, you could take that credit and apply it to discounted items in the store. So it actually was kind of like having
cool.
coupons. Yeah. So I don't know if that works here at Ray's, but no, I mean, there's no trash because you go back there and you just drop that thing in a chute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unlike the situation they have now, which is, people take their trash there.
It's gross.
So.
Yeah, I agree. No trash can. That would just.
What were the other items that we had? Joseph,
I had it pulled up. Just give me one
where were
second.
we at with that?
The conditions previously stated were having a garbage can and cleaning schedule. Cleaning schedule has already been stated by our Rays representative, and we are removing the garbage can. The next lighting needs to comply with dark sky. I did double check that, and it does seem to comply, but I'll make sure to forward the details of that on to Mr. Robert before they finish making it, just to really make sure. And then it needs to be placed on a foundation. And the planning commission, we were going to see if the anchoring it into existing pavement would conform to state building codes. We have, and then the different location adjacent, the north side, we're now saying north or the south side. It needs to conform to uniform building codes, state building codes, and county building codes. And we like the planning commission wanted statements from OBRC and Rays to make it clear that everyone was informed on the process. We have both those. Additionally, on that note, I did last week or 2 weeks ago when I was at Rays, I talked to Terry about the project, so he is also aware that this is going on.
Right.
I just wanted to bring that up so the planning commission was aware of that. Those were the conditions set forth.
And the issue of the anchoring last week or last month, and it seems to me, I was thinking about that, they put these containers all over. They kind of have their own foundation. They sit on ships, they go everywhere. So it would be up to the county to have them, how it's going to be attached. I mean, we're not going to get into that.
That's also what my interpretation was. It just, our code wasn't written to facilitate that, so it made it really hard to make it fit nicely. But as far as I can tell, it complies with all the building codes it would need to. And if it doesn't, then it isn't just the one going in here that would be an issue. It would be the 100 plus of them across the state.
Okay, so the map that we got, or so the second time we got, the north location now is just a picture.
Mhm.
Do we need to define that better, where that spot is and where the spot on the, or maybe it doesn't make any difference, on the northwest corner of the parking lot?
Northwest corner of the parking lot or the south side of the building, where the parking spaces currently are.
Okay, or the south side. On current parking,
Southwest corner.
southwest
I wouldn't
corner.
necessarily want to say corner.
Well, it's
Because-
not really at the corner because it's,
I have the assessor's map pulled up, so if we look at where the corner of the lot is, southwest corner is actually behind Ray's. You might be able to see it a little bit better up there.
I would say on the parking stripes.
On the parking stripes.
On the parking stripes.
On the south side of the building, and probably at least 20 feet back from the stop sign.
Yeah.
Line for the stop sign.
They are about 20
Idaho.
feet. The stripes are about 20 feet from the stop sign. So if they park it on those stripes, I think it'll give that, because they need to have that corner clearance, the visual clearance for surrounding.
Yep. So it'd have to be at least 20 feet back, and that's probably right. That's probably where the striping is. And if that's the case, then saying, starting at the closest, or going no further than the closest parking space to Idaho might be a good definition.
Well, the other container in the back that I don't know what they use it for, but that sticks out even further than what we're talking
But it's
about.
behind the building. It's not on the right. It's not on that right of way.
Yeah.
It's not on. It's not on.
But I mean, in terms of visual, being able to see the street,
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
Oh, the one that's down here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I believe that one might be the one they're currently using for model storage. I believe so.
Okay. So we have our conditions then. Were they in here? There were no conditions. There are none on the,
Exterior light.
It would, so they would be actually in the minutes.
Which
So-
were the minutes?
It
There we
might
go.
just be. Found it?
oh, yes.
Okay.
So let's scratch number 1, iGuard and cleaning schedule. Exterior lights, permanent needs to be on a foundation. I think we cross number 3 out also. Because they'll have to get, it'll have to be just set to code and we can't do that. Different looks, so it's explanatory.
Mhm.
And it has to, 5, I think we should leave it, needs to conform to the universal building code, state building codes and county building codes.
So did we, on number 4, did we want to take off? Would be more appropriate for this project?
Yes, so, yeah. Different, yes. Okay,
Statements.
and the plan, and we've received statements
They're
from the,
going through the conditions.
good on that. So it's basically the lighting and the location and the conforming to the building codes, right? And we would approve either one, either location.
Yes.
Recommend, and I guess separately, we would, I think we should vote to recommend to the city council that they allow it on their right of way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So the right-of-way motion is separate.
Yes.
I move to approve the both proposed, the current bottle drop location and the bottle drop location on the south side of Ray's.
Second.
Joseph said on the south side, no closer to the west than the first parking,
Right, no closer to the west than the first parking line.
than the first parking line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Did that get everything? Can you repeat that?
I move to approve the currently proposed bottle drop location on the east side of the building and also the location on the south side of the building, no closer to the stop sign than the first parking line.
And then the dark sky.
With the, provided that the conditions are met, right?
Oh, and which we should say,
Mm-hmm.
which we should
Oh,
put in the.
okay. The conditions are that it complies with dark skies ordinance. And what about the building codes?
Needs to conform to the UBC.
Conforms to the UBC. Is that it? Yeah.
Do you have a second?
I have a second. I second. the
Discussion. Let's take a vote then. Commissioner Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Boydston,
Yes.
Commissioner Thielen's a yes. Actually, I didn't close the hearing before we did that. I was wrong, right?
I thought you did.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Now we need a motion for
Now
the
we need a motion to,
approve that to recommend to the
we make
city
a,
council.
yeah, we make a, that we recommend to the city council that they allow the bottle drop on the city right of way
Mhm.
on whatever that street is. Is that 15?
15th.
15?
Mhm. I'm going to take a crack at that.
Okay.
Did they permit it, right?
Mhm.
Who's going to take a crack at it?
You can do it, Jerry.
Commissioner Boydston, you're going to be your
No.
first motion here?
So I move that we run this by the council to approve the location on the south side of the building in the right of way.
Would you like to recommend to the council?
I would recommend to the city council that we approve the location on the south side of the building.
Okay.
Approve a right-of-way permit. Approve right-of-way request.
Approve what was the wording in the, that they get permit, that they permit
Mhm.
Placement of the,
placement of the bottle drop on the right of way.
Yeah, one more time.
I recommend we approach the city council to approve the location of the bottle drop container on the city right of way.
On 15th.
And permit the
15th
location.
Street.
Somebody clean up my language.
Okay, so we are not going to add, we're going to flat out recommend.
Yes.
We recommend that they permit. We're not going to ask them, we're making a recommendation that they approve a permit on the right of way for a bottle drop.
Greg, Joseph has a suggestion maybe.
I guess
Joseph.
as the recorder, I just want to make sure.
Yes.
So the motion I have in my minutes is that the commission is motioning to recommend the city council permit the south side location that is in the right of way for the conditional use permit bottle drop location.
On the south side of the store?
Should we
Yes.
add 15th?
Did you say that? Okay.
Yeah.
I said south side location, so I'll say permit the location in the 15th Street right of way.
Bingo.
No closer to Idaho than the
First parking.
than the first parking spot. All right, how does that sound to the
Yes.
commission?
So could you read that for us, please?
The motion is to recommend that the city council approve a right-of-way permit for the location in the 15th Street right-of-way for the bottle drop conditional use permit, no closer to Idaho than the first parking spot.
You down with that?
That sounds,
Is there a
took
second?
the words right out of my mouth.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for hanging in here with this. We're a bunch of citizens, and I just want to say that. I appreciate everybody working to get this happen. And I'm going to call for the vote. Commissioner Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Boydston,
Yes.
Commissioner Thielen is yes. So there you have it. So we'll have findings. We'll send you findings of that, and we will process. I believe it'll be on the agenda for the next Planning Commission meeting, which is next week.
City council.
The next city council meeting. And who is going to sponsor that? I guess I am.
I nominate you.
I'll sponsor it. I will sponsor it. If that's what you want, I will sponsor it.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And when I send you the findings, I will also include the right-of-way permit paperwork. I will try and get that to you tomorrow. So that way, please get it to me by Friday so it can be included with the packet for the Planning Commission. It is just one sheet to fill out, and you already have a lot of what would be asked for already ready to go. A lot of what was been used in the conditional use permit can be also used as material for the right-of-way permit. You are muted.
Sorry, I was talking to my daughter.
That's fine.
Question,
All right, well, thank you all for-
what day and time does the city council have a virtual option as well? And what day and time is that meeting, please?
City council meets at 5:30 on the third Thursday of every month, so it would be next Thursday. It does have a virtual meeting just like this one. If you are on the agenda, I will make sure to email you an agenda that has a link just like I did this time, except hopefully this time I'll get it to you a little bit sooner. Once again, I apologize for the delay on that.
That is okay. Okay, 5:30 on Thursday.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, moving right along. Application for appointment. Sarah Levendahl, her term is up, and she has put in an application for another 2 years. Do we have a motion?
So did we put this out for everyone?
Did we put this out for everyone?
Yeah, I did.
At the city? I mean, did we do something? Or did we just get this because she wants to continue?
She just wants to continue. She just put in an application because her time was up.
Joseph?
I think what Crystal's asking about is usually we're required to give notice that there are vacancies.
Yes.
We'd already been giving notice that there had been vacancies for a couple months prior to this without receiving any application. So I think we're covered in that regard.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, then do we have, would anyone like to make a motion that we recommend her to the city council?
I move to recommend to the city council that Sarah Leventhal be approved for the planning commission for another term.
I second that.
Discussion? Then let's vote on it. Commissioner Boydston,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Thielen is a yes also. Okay. Conditional use permit extension discussion. So last month, we looked at a draft of expiration of conditional use permit and revocation. And then we had some suggestions from the commission. And I took those suggestions and I put them into this document. And I just wanted to bring, I brought it back as a second draft. And I wanted to see what we thought about it. So what I did, there was a question about, I think last week it said, I don't even remember what, or last month, it was not clear what substantial construction was going to be. And I found the wording in I believe it's Florence's city code, where they use the word commenced and diligently pursued as conditions. So it would be authorization of a conditional use permit shall be void 2 years after the date of approval of a conditional use application, which we had last month, and it seemed like it was okay, unless use of the property permitted by the conditional use permit is actually commenced, which is standard, or in the event that such use involves construction, all necessary permits have been issued and the required construction has been commenced and diligently pursued. That's basically what Florence says. And then I thought I should add, just because 95% of everything involves a foundation, just to keep it clear, with regard to new structures, construction of a building foundation shall satisfy the commenced and diligently pursued requirement. I don't know if that's language if that's like legal language or.
Okay, question.
It
So
it makes sense.
for the conditional use permit for the ERPD,
Yes.
they claimed that clearing gorse was substantial construction, substantial progress. So would the requirement be that that a foundation is actually?
So in the case of that, they were allowed that their conditional use permit was validated through the county wording, which only says progress is made. It basically has to, or it has to be started.
I thought our city
It did not say substantial
No?
construction. Ours says substantial construction.
Oh, okay.
So wouldn't you think that actually moving dirt would be construction, but you could go cut gorse anywhere and that's just.
It's not, no. But it was not, but you have to understand,
I wasn't here for that.
once substantial construction has occurred, you don't need to come back. The reason you file for an extension is because you haven't done substantial construction. In the case of their conditional use permit with a county, it didn't say substantial construction. It said beginning work or something like that. It said something very nebulous. And clearing brush, the commissioners there felt that was enough. And then, so it made their permit.
Well, I'm concerned with the terms commenced and diligently pursued. That's vague, and it can be interpreted in obviously a number of different ways. Why can't we just say something like it's predetermined by the applicant and the planning commission? So each individual applicant, it depends on what they're building and what they're doing.
Crystal?
I do think that we have to have some leeway here because there's all kinds of different things. But they need to be showing us pictures and evidence. I mean, that's what we're not getting.
That's what we were lacking.
No matter what we ask for, we don't, I mean, if they were actually out clearing gorse the way you have to clear gorse to do something, then we would have needed to see the pictures because like I've worked on conditional use permits where they had gorse
Mhm.
and it was a matter of not just going and cutting it once. It was cleaning the tires of the vehicles, doing it over and over, having a schedule, cleaning the tires so that it didn't, the seeds didn't go onto other things when they left. There was a whole process. And yeah, it might take a long time to do it.
Mhm.
But if they were diligently pursuing this and they could give us evidence of that,
Documenting.
I would think that that would be a good thing.
Well, then why don't
Talking
we
about
say,
something that could be there thousands of years.
why don't we say that they must provide ongoing evidence that the
I think
project
we
is
should say
moving
something
forward?
like that in here if it's not in here, because
Mhm.
they just, you
That
know,
was-
we would
yeah.
tell them that and then they didn't do it,
That
as a lot of them haven't. I'm not
Yeah.
picking on Elk River, but.
Well, it's a good example because they managed to come back 7 years in a row without
No
any
pictures,
evidence.
No,
Nothing.
letters.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So if you look at the section B, the applicant may apply to the planning commission for a one-time extension of 1 year maximum duration based on the compliance with the following criteria. And here I added some criteria. The extension application form is completed and applicable fee is paid, which we suggested last time. And we also suggested the request for an extension is made in writing, not less than 45 days. That was in an expiration of the original approval. What we added was the request includes documentation of special or unusual circumstances that exist that warrant an extension. So which is not exactly what you're saying.
Not documentation
No.
of progress.
Okay, so you're saying,
I guess documentation and evidence.
Yeah, based on ongoing and timely evidence, I would say
so
timely as well.
documentation of, okay, so in the event such use invites construction, all necessary permits have been issued and documentation is provided that the required documentation. Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
I mean, a few pictures of anything would help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how about, in the event that such use involves construction, all necessary permits have been issued and documentation is provided that the required construction has been commenced and diligently pursued.
Mm-hmm.
Better.
I don't know if you can get all your permits for construction in 2 years nowadays.
Well, all the other cities have 2 years now. That's
I know, but they're all complaining online with the planners that it's a joke because you can't get stuff done in 2 years. So I'm just saying
Well-
that for that.
Well, then they
reason.
can bring the evidence that they.
I heard them all saying that
Yeah.
they can't get it done.
Okay, so that's what the extra year is for.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So is this,
Well, I mean, we're saying that it's taking in some of these places 3 and 4 years for a subdivision to come in for compliance.
Well,
Because, just
yeah.
because of all the stuff they have
So-
to do and how long things.
so they would have to apply for another conditional use permit?
Should we say that they should have two 1-year extensions? Or one
I
2-year
like the 2
extension?
years.
Well, just work to be done might not just be gorse, but it might be engineering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
Oh, yeah.
Provide some engineering, provide some,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. So that's
Well,
that
we didn't
ongoing
Yeah,
evidence
they
that
didn't
I
have any
think we
engineering
need is even pre-construction. It's going to take a while, and I think that's the
Right, and if we
lengthy
had
timeframe.
pictures that pre-construction was happening,
Yes.
or that they
Or
were
some evidence
Mhm.
that they've obtained the permits there
Yeah, well, that's,
working
throughout
on
that
it.
Or
process.
if they brought in preliminary design,
Yeah,
well, that's the documentation part.
right?
So, but I want to address the part that you're bringing up is 1-year extension enough?
no, I don't think it
Okay.
is, from what I'm hearing.
What do you think it should be? Two 1-year
Well, I
extensions?
hadn't really thought of it, but I think the 2 years is a point that they need to come back and show up
Yeah.
with all this stuff.
Right. Show us where you're at.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So maybe you can add on another year that's specifically for them to demonstrate that they're in the permitting process.
Or, yeah, or so
Or-
maybe we say a 2-time extension. They can apply 2 times for a 1-year extension.
Okay, yeah. Maximum of 2 times. Whatever avoids that, loophole that allows them to come back ad infinitum.
Because if people are on the ball, and I don't want to keep them from doing what they need to do.
But there is a lot of design work. Even if it's a subdivision, there's a lot of design work that takes
Yeah.
place long before any kind of dirt.
Surveyors have to go out and get their reports back and.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And you don't ever get to a foundation on most subdivisions.
So more than 3 years.
It can take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should say that either say a 2-year extension or 2 1-year extensions.
2 1-year extensions, I think. Because then they come back and
Then
they
have to come
show.
back. Yeah, they'll be more motivated. If it's just filling out the paperwork, paying the fee and coming back, they can do that
Mm-hmm.
for one more time.
Yeah.
So 2 1-year extensions. I'll work up some wording for that and bring it back.
Joseph has his
2
hand up.
1-year extensions.
No.
Joseph, go ahead.
I hate to be, devil's advocate here. Can we make that 3 1-year extension just so it's a nice 5 years to actually start building it? Because
Might be the best.
like, honestly, to me, I don't know if the extra year between 4 and 5 makes that much of a difference. This is just me being a little OCD and it's so close to 5. I would rather it just be
But
5.
here's the problem. I think after a certain amount of time, projects can become stale, like we're seeing with the ERPD project, where after 8 years, the state of the community has changed so much that the fit for the community is different. I feel like 4 years is enough.
Has it really changed that much?
It totally has. Yeah. I mean, the availability of affordable housing, the water infrastructure problems.
I mean, has the land itself, the thing that they're doing, has it changed? I mean,
Well, the conditional use of the land, yeah, I think it warrants reevaluation after 8 years. I feel like 4 years is enough, and that, they don't have to stop their project, but they would have to reapply for another conditional use permit. That was an option for ERPD as well.
So you're suggesting 5 years. You're suggesting 4 years. I think we're all kind of in 4 years, maybe 4, 5. What do you think about 5?
I like 5 the best.
You like 5 the
I
best?
guess I just do because I've heard people saying online, other planners, it takes them 4 years just to do a subdivision.
No, I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what the project is.
Yes, it
If it's a subdivision, I agree with you. I think it does take a long time to get through that process. But if it's a smaller project,
It's a pipeline.
then why would we want to say that this smaller project has 5 years?
Why would they want to say it?
Well, they may. They
Well,
may,
okay, so-
as we know,
Yeah.
right?
So there are some of these codes. So I have looked at like a number of these codes, and I didn't put them on here this time. I did last time, if you want to look at your old ones. But some of them say 2 years, or they specify, or such less time. That, yeah. So.
I mean, we could affect that at the time. If we thought it was something that should be done right away and could be done, we don't have to give them all that time.
Right. So we can say that. So we'll put a yeah.
I think
I'll look it up.
a shorter time period gives us an opportunity to reevaluate the conditions.
So the PC should have some discretion in the amount of time that's given, but a maximum of 5. That's what we're saying.
Yes. I think.
Okay,
Agree.
Based on the type of project.
exactly.
Mhm.
PC discretion, max 5 years.
And we have to, they have to show the evidence. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's been the problem
Yeah.
all along. We tell them that and they don't see it in writing here and they don't bother.
Yeah,
There was no requirement for it, so.
and that's where the documentation needs to be required.
You notice how when they went to the RPD went to the city council, they gave them more information than they
They
gave
did,
to
but
us.
still not very much.
It wasn't very much, but they did. Okay, so moving on, let's see. Anything else down here further about and then I added the appellant is to the planning commission or city council decisions is subject to the application fee and any fees for professional services required by the city to process the appeal. We wanted to have that in there.
And if you really wanted discretion of the planning commission, you could say something about, the planning commission is permitted to apply variances as determined by the planning commission or something like that.
Variances?
Well, no, not the kind of variance that we have for. other things,
To conceivably extend it more than 5 years?
Well, or,
Request more information.
even
or-
if we
Hard no.
limit this stuff, yeah.
I think we have to have a hard no. I think we have to
5
have
years
a-
is plenty. They can always reapply. It's not like after 5 years, the project is dead.
They wouldn't be, the trouble with this one that we have, that would be more work for the city than we could almost handle to do those conditional permits again.
Well, maybe then it has to be at the cost of the
I
applicant.
think it should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they all are. Theoretically, a conditional use permit is paid for by the applicant, right?
So that's already,
but
Established.
this one had such long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was,
well, I mean,
Contact all these
then do we
people.
need to improve the code so that no
okay,
matter the length of time, the applicant is always responsible for the cost to the city?
So,
Greg,
that
I
in
have
there,
a
Greg?
question on C.
I'm sorry?
A question on C.
Yes?
The discontinuance of a conditional use for 12 consecutive months. What do you mean by the discontinuance?
So if you get a conditional use to have a bottle drop on the city right away
Mhm.
and you don't use it for 12 years, you lose it. You lose the right to do it.
12 months.
12 months.
If
12
you,
months, sorry.
I think we already have that in the code, don't we?
Yeah,
Not a
uh,
conditional use
I,
permit if you
yes,
don't.
it probably
initiate
is.
it.
It
Yeah.
probably is. You get a conditional use to use something and you have certain conditions. Like you want to have, you get a conditional use to have a factory that's a little sketchy, but it's just, it's going to be okay. Then they don't use it for a year, a year. If
So
the use
they-
isn't-
is this from the start, they don't use it or make progress on it?
From no, once it's been used, once it's in place.
Oh,
once
I
it's
see.
being
Okay.
used.
Okay.
Well, even if you
Abandon
don't
it.
make progress on it.
If the
Yeah.
project gets abandoned.
If it's abandoned or if it's used and abandoned, you have a daycare, you have a conditional use for a daycare center in a building.
Right.
And it's used for 20 years and then all of a sudden it's not being used anymore.
Mhm.
You come back 5 years later and you want.
But
to
that's
do that.
assuming that the conditional use permit is in effect,
Yes,
not being pursued.
correct.
Okay.
This is for one that's been made, that's been, yeah. And then the other section about revocation, that the planning commission after notice and public hearing may revoke a conditional use permit if they failure to comply with any of the prescribed
Notice to
requirements.
who? The owner?
After notice, the public
the-
notice, hearing,
Is it public notice or is it,
well, notice in public hearing. Notice involves a public hearing, I'm sure.
well, does it?
Well, don't
I
you-
think that
oh, I don't
I don't
assume
think
that.
we should have to have a public hearing if something's not happening to revoke a conditional use permit.
For failure to comply with any of the prescribed requirements, a violation of the provisions of the title, or the nuisance one. I think if it's a nuisance, you would have to have a public hearing, wouldn't you?
Hmm.
I don't know
To
where we
find-
are.
So that would be C. So the planning commission after notice
I see what
for
you're saying.
those three, this is, I just took this right out of, it could be Florence's code.
Joseph has a.
I just I'm a little bit leery of us having to do a public notice to revoke something that's not working.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
I
Go
I
ahead.
don't think we would need it. I don't think we would need to have a public hearing to revoke, but we would want to have an appeal process, and the appeal, I believe, would have to be a public hearing, which could then also be subsequently appealed to the city council.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay,
So basically you'd send them a letter saying you are no longer.
Right. And then
compliant.
they could appeal that.
Right.
And then they could do
oh, okay.
paperwork to
Mhm.
basically say they want to appeal it, the decision, they would come before the planning commission for the initial appeal. The planning commission, let's say, affirms their decision to revoke the conditional use permit. They could then appeal it up to the city council.
So the planning commission upon notice
Mhm.
may revoke a conditional use
On notice to the
Owner,
permit holder.
to the
okay,
permit holder.
holder, that would be better.
So the planning commission upon notice to the permit holder may revoke a conditional use permit for any of the following reasons. And then da-da-da-da-da, and they can appeal that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'd want to make that clear as potentially a bullet point D or another section within the revocation that a revocation of a conditional use permit can be appealed. Have some process like by submitting materials to the planning commission. Appeal would be a public hearing, which could then subsequently also be appealed to the city council.
Would that though need to state within so many days of notice being sent to them?
Yeah. It would
30.
Probably want to be 2 or 3 months.
Is that standard or do we have to say it?
I think we need to say it.
Say,
Because what if they
if it's
come back a
standard, we
year
wanna
later?
I
Make
think
it,
we need to say abandonment results in revocation.
That abandonment is in the one up above.
Mhm.
Abandonment is taken care of in the in C above. Discontinuance of a conditional use, that's abandonment.
Yes.
This is something different. This is a nuisance or a violation of the, so revocation of a conditional use permit may be appealed at a public hearing. And then,
a public hearing at the planning commission upon request. And then we could probably just take,
But they need to pay for that public hearing.
yeah,
And also, I think we need to
just a second,
state,
just a second, please. So upon request, and then we can include that piece.
I would say that the conditions we have for an extension would also all be applicable to
45 days.
yeah,
within 45 days?
yeah.
Yes.
And that's
Of the
45 days
notice.
of when we mail off the notice.
Yes.
So how would I say that? So appealed at a public hearing at the PC upon request, may be appealed within 45 days?
Mm-hmm.
No,
No,
No.
that's too long.
that's too long? Okay.
Well, our appeal period for normal things is
30,
like
15
14
days.
days
Yeah,
or
14
something.
days.
Okay.
14 days.
Well,
So the revocation of a conditional use permit may be appealed within 14 days at a public hearing, at the planning commission upon request.
Well, but
No.
your
No.
your
We don't
meetings
want to
are,
have to have a public hearing.
Maybe appealed to the planning commission within 14 days.
Yes.
Applic-
Using the city's appeal.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Maybe appealed.
According to section such and such of our code. We have
Better.
appeals.
Maybe appealed to the planning commission.
Welcome to our world.
See, within 14 days.
Well, just
no,
say,
according
for the
to
cities- according
for
to
the
the
city
city's appeal
municipal code
process.
on appeal process.
Okay, according to number, I'll look up the
in
number.
compliance with.
Mhm.
Then if that changes, then that, you don't have to change that part of the code.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I may ask you to look at this later
Yeah, that's
sometime.
absolutely fine.
I
Okay.
mean, the last thing we want to do is make work for ourselves
Absolutely.
and expenses for ourselves.
And we want to have
for
the,
somebody who's not doing what they're supposed to do.
and see if somebody wants to appeal it, that the cost is on them.
Right.
And we said that, did we say that in this or did we say that in some, I just wrote something else. Oh, yeah. Where did I say that? Oh, yeah. Appellant to the planning, oh, here it says right here. Appellant to the planning commission or city council decisions is subject to an application fee and any fees for professional services required by the city. So we've already said that. Okay, good. All right.
Did
Anything
we,
else on
did
this
we
little-
decide that we were going to create an actual application form?
Yes,
Yeah.
it says we got to have one.
Yeah, one, the extension application form, but two says the request for an extension is made in writing. Is that prior to, is there a form for that, or is that just, we're gonna have a problem like we did with ERPD, where they were
Well-
like, this is our email that's gonna be an application, but now it's not.
Yes.
I
But
would
don't
guess
count it.
I would guess the application form would have attached pages
Mm-hmm,
as needed.
right. Okay. Just trying to avoid all the little loopholes.
I do recall having to explain to the council that I didn't recognize it as a actual.
Application,
Yeah.
plus he said not to. So that was confusing.
Okay, anything else on this?
Joseph has his hand up.
Two quick things.
Yes,
First
sir.
off, the appeal section that Crystal and I were talking about, I believe it is 170840.
170804, yeah.
That's the one that states that an action or ruling of the planning commission may be appealed to the city council within 15 days of the decision being rendered, or may be designated for a hearing by the city council.
Okay,
And I
it
think the
expands on
rendered
that.
is described somewhere also.
Yeah,
It's when we actually send it to them,
when they receive it.
not when it happens at the planning commission. In other words, we send them a notice.
Hmm,
That's called rendered or something.
okay.
and the other thing you wanted to say?
On the revocation, we might also want to include a bullet point, just, this is for commission consideration, whether or not we want conditional use permits to be transferable,
No.
at least,
I think they should be.
okay.
Are they ever?
I don't,
Like vested rights? Like
Yeah.
they had a chicken coop and I bought the property, now I get to have a chicken coop?
yeah, that's, or the bigger thing that I'm bringing it up is that it was a concern with the short-term rentals. We had to specify that the short-term rental permit was non-transferable if the property was sold. So we might want to add in something similar where if you haven't finished the project or haven't even really started it and you sell the property, the permit doesn't transfer
I
with
think
the
we should
sale.
look and see if that's already.
I think
in
it belongs in, I think it belongs in,
our- We may not have
conditional
that
use
in our
permit.
code.
Okay,
but we should have it.
like the definition of
it's
it.
under-
But it should be
under-
mentioned in this, I would think.
I'm going to see if.
It's non-transferable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as a sidebar, where's the enforcement in all this? I mean,
So we're going to get to that later because that's my next cat.
Mhm.
we have a lot of codes in this town that are not being enforced.
Well, while Crystal's looking that up, did the Talus over on, Arrested Development across from your place, did that require a conditional use permit? Because that was abandoned for a decade or more.
I don't know.
But
Joseph?
So I've looked,
House wasn't a conditional use.
No.
yeah, it was
No,
not a
it's-
conditional use permit,
approved
but it was a
and
subdivision that did
attached.
have conditions attached to it. So a lot of people have been calling it a conditional use permit, but it was not actually a conditional
The
use permit.
conditions were done when they
Yeah.
put it in.
Mm,
All right, let's not get too far
Okay.
off though.
Yeah,
Let's-
no, just wondering.
we got things
That
to,
is a whole nother
So,
can
I
of
wanted
worms.
to answer because I actually knew that.
I don't think it belongs in here is the short answer. That they're not
The transferable.
transferable.
Yeah, I
It
don't
belongs-
know that it says that, but they've never been
Okay.
anywhere.
I-
I think they argue in Curry County that,
Well, because is the conditional use permit attached to a specific applicant, a person?
Yeah.
And if it's not that person anymore,
it doesn't go
then,
with the land.
Property
yeah, it doesn't
sales.
go with the
Some
land.
places, conditional use permits go with the land, I think.
Mm-hmm, okay.
For example, well, no.
Listen, if if we haven't learned anything, it's that if there is a loophole, it will be exploited, right? So,
Yeah.
Like I said, I just wanted to bring it up because I remember that being a thing with the short-term rentals, and I wanted to give you guys something else to chew on.
Okay, good. Well, I'm spitting that one out.
Okay.
That's going somewhere else.
Okay.
But I think we should look that up and
I don't see it here under conditional
it
uses.
should be in there. There's another section on conditional uses. Anyway, anything else on this document? Well, thank you for all your stuff. I'll bring it back next month.
thanks for your hard work on that.
Thanks for digging in.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're ready to get on to the real thing we came here to do. No, it's not true. We came here to do a lot. The thing that I've been studying, which is planning matters. The LCD grant update. Proposed amendments to use zones with new uses and changing requirements. Ooh, nice. And the cottage residential. So Crystal, you're the,
Okay, first,
make
so
sure
that we can talk with some sense here. I would like you to use the little things that I passed out and put some markings in your code so that we can flip back and forth without.
It's either going to be.
So where are we starting here?
Thank you.
So
It's either going to be this or
we
this.
are
Item 8.
at the staff report that is in the middle of our thing and after the conditional use permit requirement.
Before we get started here, if it was okay with the rest of you folks on the commission, I would like to invite Pamela to come sit up here if you would like to get involved in this discussion.
Sure.
You've been serving really diligently on the commission.
This is a work session.
And this is a work session.
Okay, great, thank you.
So just sit wherever you,
So she will be like our appointed advisory committee.
appointed advisory committee. That's right. And
What page are we starting on here?
We are starting on page 1. It's called staff report and it's,
I got that. Okay.
and it doesn't have a 1 on it, but page 2 has a 2.
Okay.
Goes on from there. So let's take these little things and mark some places. You all have them, right?
Yep.
So I think you should have one on page 5 that says use zones or zones. Is enough.
Residential zone 1R.
Yeah, but it's the start of the zones.
Okay.
And when you get done with that, let me know.
I'm done.
Okay.
But did you label yours?
Huh? I did. I even wrote use zones.
Oh.
Oh, but you have your.
I'm an
own separate
overachiever.
label. Okay, then on page 13, we have supplementary information. And supplementary is just something that, those are like conditions that you have to do if you're going to be doing certain things. They're not conditions that we put on with a CUP or something. So we have a few of those and we don't have too many of them, but we have some having to do with home occupations, which are pertinent to our discussion on page 14.
So
And
seeing as how I got in this whole thing late, are we doing this just to comply with the state development code? Or,
both. We're doing, there's a lot in here that is to comply with the state development code, with the state laws that they have done in the past few years. They've been throwing them out.
Page 13, supplementary.
Handy.
okay,
And
Page 5.
so we're
it's
just
very
trying to
hard
get
for
caught
us to
up.
keep
Use
up
zones.
because we aren't required to do half of them, but the other half we are. But to get to, yes, on the ones we have to do, sometimes we have to understand the other ones that the bigger cities did.
Mhm.
And we weren't involved in those. So anyway, okay, so supplementary is page 13. And then page 14, we have home occupation. which is one of the supplementary ones, but I think that's important.
That needs its own marker.
That, well, I would just label it home occupation because this is something that we can talk about. 15 is ADUs, which we're always talking about. And that goes on for a few pages. And then 17 is PUD. There's a zoning part of PUDs, and there's another part that we'll come to later. We're going to do
What page?
PUD is planned unit development.
So 17 is,
Page 17, we start talking about planned unit developments, PUDs.
Not public utility district.
No. And these are, this is the zoning information for PUDs that is being revised. We have some, but we need to scale it up a little bit. Not anything the state is requiring. This is something that is going to allow us to do some different configurations on properties to achieve what we hope would be affordable housing. And then page 21, we start with the
conditional use.
conditional use, different requirements for different conditional uses. And now those go on for a number of pages. And then I didn't mark some other things. And then at the end, we have the PUD for when you're going to divide property, which,
What page is that on?
page 30.
Where's page 30? Oh, I see. That's this part.
Because there's two parts to PUDs. There's the zoning part and the land development
Technical.
part.
Yeah, PUD land development.
Okay, so now that we have those almost all marked, when we get them marked, look, you can look up and smile, and then I'll know that you're ready,
How you doing, buddy?
or grimace, or whatever you choose. So what I'd like to do tonight is give you guys a chance to understand a little better. We went through it 90 miles an hour last month, just as an introduction. Hey, we've got some stuff here we're doing to the zones. You have a copy of this too.
Yeah, mine ends at 22, but I can,
Okay, well, we'll find it.
was it in the packet?
Here's some more.
Thank you, Joseph.
So let's go to page 5. So before that, we have a lot of definitions, and many of these have been updated. The intent has been to make them consistent with state law. I'm sure there's still a few things that aren't. On the phone today, Greg and I came across one that probably wasn't, but that'll be happening until we're through.
Till we
I
get her done.
hope not after. But on page 5, so we start with the 1R zone. And you start seeing the things that are permitted outright, and they're highlighted here. Some new things. So the check marks mean that I've checked these with the state laws. These,
Oh, okay.
manufactured home and prefab dwellings in compliance with. We're going to use that language on all of them if we can. So, there's a bunch of changes in those because those were state things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving those to, I'm not sure they were in here before, but yeah, they were, I guess, because you could see that they were already in here. Okay, so then we have accessory dwelling. That's a new thing we haven't had before. And the hope would be that we could make that an outright use, because if we have accessory dwellings and we want to have them, That's one more expense, one more time thing that people don't want to go through when they decide they want to do something.
Mhm.
So the accessory dwelling units, we have a section here. I mean, you can go back and find it, 1716-090, that is supposed to be, and we can do it right now. It's it's not a supplement. Yes, supplementary should be in there. Go to supplementary.
We don't have a tab supplementary. What?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, you do.
Oh,
So
1716.
it should be in this section. And there it is on page 15,
Okay.
ADUs. So the intent for this is we can make this an outright use as long as we have clear and objective standards that they can follow, so that they can come in and Joseph can give them Joseph can get out the checklist and say, have you done this? So why don't you look at those? So we're saying that they submit the information. That's all new. All this ADU stuff is new.
Okay,
So should we read through, we're reading through the ADU section?
Well, we're on that right now because once we start going through these uses, I want you to connect with how they work.
Mhm.
So on 15, you see a whole bunch of new language for ADUs, and then you go on to 16. All this stuff in little italics are my comments to myself and you. Like, the first one is, are we going to have SDCs? Are we going to have an application form prepared? Because once we adopt this, we have it. So all these things are supplementary for us to do. Then we have the criteria. So, then you can start seeing this A is all in black. It's the first thing that they can't advertise it or anything like that as a short-term rental. That's pretty clear.
So I have a quick question. So about determining the SDCs, we talked about the difference between having an ADU hook up sewer and water to the existing house on the property versus forcing them to have their own hookups.
But there's still the question of whether we're going to make them pay SDC. I mean, the city council has to decide that.
But are we going into depth on that here, or is that no?
But we're going to have to remember that if we go to the city council, that we have to make the adoption of all these things far enough ahead so that we can get all this stuff done.
we can make a recommendation. When we get through with that, so my idea
We
is
can make recommendations.
we do what what's put in front of us, and then we will deal with the other ramifications, which we've come up along. We'll make
We
notes.
might say that this will go into effect in 4 months or something and
Right.
expect that we'll have those decisions made.
And we can make some recommendations.
Then we go into the criteria. And so, what we're looking for here is clear and objective. In other words, we can look at this, we can say yes or no, it meets the standard. And Joseph would be the one probably doing that. I mean, he could involve me or Melissa or whoever he wants or needs. It's always good to involve somebody, but can this be something that we don't have to dither about?
Well, this looks good.
Crystal, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rental. It could just be a residence,
Right.
right? Okay, yeah, thank you.
Grandma's little shack.
It's
Right,
permitted to
exactly.
serve as a long-term
Yeah, so
rental,
maybe we need to include that. Residence or rental. I mean, I know
Well, do I
we're
say
making
it's
this
a rental?
statement that
It
it
says
has to be long-term if it is a rental.
It says permitted to serve as a long-term rental. There will be no short-term rental or vacation. It's
The first
B criteria A in ADU
Yeah,
is
on
permitted.
16.
An ADU is permitted to serve as a long-term rental or residence.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
an ADU is prohibited from being advertised, promoted, or utilized.
Mhm.
Okay. Comply with setbacks, we can do that in the office. We need to cross out this thing about parking spaces. We don't have any way to do that. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's why I have it in italics, because I thought, like, really?
Yeah.
So you guys speak if you have anything to.
3 dedicated parking spaces on the lot. I mean,
That was a discussion at one
Yeah.
time, but there's no way,
yeah,
because we don't require any now.
right. 3
I mean,
dedicated, 3
most
seems like a
people have
lot.
them, but
Mm-hmm.
As in a driveway or just a widened
yeah,
spot.
yeah. So, I guess if it started getting to be a problem, we would have to change the code.
Well, there are some places it is a problem. I mean, it's people park all kinds of stuff to where you can't hardly get around the street, like on California Street.
It's all over town, yeah.
But that's not ADUs, those are trailers and such.
So it goes on to page 17, separate connections.
I do,
That's the language we came
Yeah,
up with at the
yeah,
last meeting.
that's, yeah.
just backtracking though, I'm sorry, on D, 600 square feet. I don't think I was at that meeting where you talked about
Maximum.
maximum,
Maximum 600 feet.
Mm-hmm. That was standard we determined, right?
to have a maximum.
Some say
footprint. Okay.
2/3 of the size. Yeah, there's 600. is-
Yeah,
yeah,
sometimes,
Middle of the road.
sometimes it was a percentage of the size of the existing structure.
Yeah, this makes more sense.
Yeah,
I think this, yeah.
less
So
math.
they're
Okay.
small.
Yeah, 600. Mm-hmm.
That's the intent, is to,
Mhm.
yeah. So go on to the next page and see if there's anything that raises any red flags. Site plan, I mean,
Excuse me, we're not going to talk about the separate connections of,
this is the
Sewer
one
water.
that you
So
came up with
We came up with that
last.
one at the last meeting.
yeah, I remember.
Separate connections to first sewer pipes.
We're saying that
So that
there
would,
is need for capacity
So that-
subject to the Oregon Plumbing Code.
yeah, so that would, the Oregon Plumbing Code would determine if the capacity of the main house was going to be exceeded.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then we're saying they shouldn't partition it off or otherwise divide it from the primary dwelling.
In other words, carve off a little piece of the lot, and is that what you mean by partition it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if they had a lot of property, they might be sorry they built the ADU.
Right. They have more than a lot size.
So, I suppose we could add unless, I don't know.
Is that even necessary?
Yeah, I don't know. To say that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I
That's
don't
a
think-
question.
I don't think it is.
Okay, so on my property, I've got two 50 by 100 lots.
Right? So you could put an AD on the other lot.
Good, and if I felt like it, at this point, I could
You could sell it.
split that lot off, but then you only have a 600 square foot
But
ADU.
maybe that's okay.
Maybe that's okay.
Except if I do it and I'm connecting to my existing sewer line and water line, I don't have to.
The city may not let you do that. They may not let you divide that property. 'cause you gotta
I
go
think
through
we
the
should
planning commission
say
to
an
divide that property,
ADU,
And they may not let you. do that.
would have to go through, maybe we don't have to
I don't
say
think you even
anything.
have to say anything.
They would have to do whatever, they would have to meet the requirements.
Because if you try to do a lot line adjustment and then on this new lot, there's a ADU that's attached to my sewer and
Yeah,
so
that
then
would
it's
be,
like you'd have to break it out.
let's just leave it off.
I think we leave it off, yeah.
And then we have
Keep
to
it
have
simple.
sense and.
So L
we
we're
can't do it
leaving
if it
off.
Doesn't work.
L would be gone.
Okay, let's go back then to page 5.
All right.
Under the zones, and we have home occupation. Now, here's another one that we've been doing it this way. we don't bring home occupations to the planning commission, and that's probably good. It seems like it's been working. We don't have a whole bunch of them, but we have some. But what we haven't done is been very clear that we don't have a checklist that I know of. I talked to Joseph about it a couple times. Did Patty have a checklist? Because she always took care of this. And we didn't get a lot of complaints or anything, but I think we need to have a checklist. You know, do they comply? So look back at supplementary, and you can see on page 14 are the rules for home occupation. And I'm not suggesting that we should necessarily change them. I have added a few. So most of these on 14, they're already here. We could make a checklist that say these things exactly so that Joseph could do it at
So
the counter.
I have a question for Joseph. So we do have a list of the home occupations in the city? There is a record of the home
I think there are
occupations?
business licenses.
There are business licenses, and they, if I'm remembering correctly, state where the property is, which then we would know whether or not that's a residential property or a commercial
Okay.
property.
Thank you.
And when we did bring one home occupation to the planning commission, it was the Agate Beach hemp farm. I believe on there, I created a form for it that basically outlined some of the things that we could pull the home occupation permit for. And it was basically if neighbors complain and it's abundantly clear from, a cursory review of the property that the property is being used as a business. I also want to say that we had something about it in our code already.
This
Yeah.
stuff was in
Oh,
the
okay.
code.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
code, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I just wondered if so there is,
We
it
had
is
it in
being
the
tracked in
code.
the
We
city.
maybe didn't have a checklist that when we were bringing it in. is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be correct. And it's not necessarily that we have a list specifically of ones that have been home occupations, but we do have a list of all the businesses that have business licenses and they have zoning on them.
Sorry, they have what on them?
Zoning.
Okay.
So you could tell if it was a home occupation.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can tell. Okay, good.
But
Got it.
we'll need to do a little checklist, and then we have a record that we've taken that in.
Are you, well, this is, it's okay. This isn't about this. I don't know.
So there's
I
a
wanna
few
move on.
other new ones, as you go on to page 15. There's a few added words. The applicant and property owner shall sign an application for the home occupation. So I added property owner. I feel like the property owner
Yeah.
should be
I
signing
agree.
as well as the applicant, and I don't know if
Absolutely.
we're doing that.
They might be the
and,
same, they might not.
Yeah. And then showing the space that will be utilized, et cetera. And then the proposed home occupation shall be reviewed for compliance. Where a determination, okay, that's logical stuff. And they can always appeal it to the planning commission if they don't agree with what the staff is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go on. So the next one we have as an outright use, registered, that's on page 5. Registered family childcare home for up to 10 children in compliance with section 1716.050. So again, that is a state thing. This one's a state thing. Let's see if we have anything about that. 1716.050. Oh, that'll be a home occupation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it somewhere.
We should say home for up to 10 children as a home occupation. Well, it would be a home occupation. I think it needs to say that. Make it clear. In compliance with section 1716.050. Okay,
So something like that, we may have talked about this last month, but does that require the approval of the neighbors in the residential? Because a lot of dropping off and picking up.
but the state, I believe I looked that up, and the state oversees that.
But is there a requirement to notify the neighbors?
No, but the state has left this the way it was.
Which is pretty nebulous.
Yeah, because nobody wants them.
Right.
And that's why the
Mhm.
state is saying we are overseeing them.
Mm,
So the only reason we have it is because
the state.
we have a home occupation. And
Mhm.
so the state has said they could be that they are home occupations or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
And they're,
remember exactly.
Like group homes.
yeah.
Yeah. And so
Well, I'm just thinking
that's
about
why it's in
multiple.
here as an
drop-offs
outright
and-
use, because
Mhm.
the state requires it to be an outright use.
Right.
And then we are allowed to have it as a home occupation, and we are stepping up our home occupation so that if it started being a problem, then we can deal with them and the state
Mm,
and say,
mhm.
this is not working, and
Yeah.
that's what we have to figure out.
Mhm.
You know, hopefully it could work,
Right.
because I think they're the ones who decide where the parking goes and everything.
Right.
But it's honestly, sometimes I can't even remember
Well, that's why I think the
Yeah, it's so much-
notification,
Right.
what I've found on
So
these
much
things.
stuff.
But I'm pretty sure that I found it, or I wouldn't
Mhm.
be putting it in here this way. See, it's permitted in all dwellings in
Dwellings.
a residential and commercial zone as a
Mhm.
home occupation.
Was subject to an administrative approval.
Yes,
Is that the city?
that's us.
Mm-hmm. Or the planning
Administrative
commission?
Planning
means
staff.
Joseph
Mhm.
or me or
Right.
Melissa or all of us.
It just seems like, I mean, I'm getting ready to move out of the city, but if I was living in the city and somebody next to me wanted to have a daycare and that's
That's
10
why they
kids,
have
10
it.
cars showing up in the morning and 10 cars
I
showing
know.
up in the
I
afternoon
know.
and then parking like who knows how.
And then the next one is the same kind of a thing.
well,
except we've
just,
already got it.
Crystal, I was curious
Residential
what
home
the
care.
state section would be that governs that. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Civil liberties.
Are we going to need to extend the meeting?
I don't know. If we ever do this stuff, we have to.
I don't
extend
want
it.
to.
We could do it next time.
I mean, there's quite a bit on all this stuff. Childcare, ORS 329A.440. It
I'm
opens
sorry.
right to it.
ORS 3,
So there's family childcare homes permitted in all dwellings in residential and commercial zones. They are classified as a residential use. No special fees or requirements allowed.
It's 329A.440.
No
Thank you.
special
House
requirements.
Bill 3109,
We can't do
2021.
anything about it. Let's move on.
So, okay, that probably goes along with group homes and
It does. And we have that in the next one.
and it doesn't require any kind of notification, the state.
It doesn't allow it.
Hmm.
It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't sound to me like it's allowed.
Interesting.
I mean,
Okay.
So residential care home.
then residential care homes are the same. We already
Okay.
have those.
Mm-hmm.
They were required by the state a long time ago. So that's like, you know, you have up to 5 people or something in your home,
Mm-hmm.
older people or disabled. Okay, then we go to conditional uses. And we don't have a lot, you know, we don't have the same ones we have in,
Crystal, can I ask about 7 and 8? Private stable and livestock farming?
you can ask, but I'm not going to deal with them.
Okay.
It's in the
Because
code.
the city's
It's in
had
the
this for years, and, you know, if we wanted to change it, we should have changed it. It's not a housing thing.
So my question is more in terms of the number of horses or the number of livestock.
Sheep.
Mhm.
I just noticed in the neighborhood where I used to live on 12th Street that there are livestock pens.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm sure it's more than an acre, but I'm just curious to know a little bit more about it.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
that's not, I have to just draw the line here.
Okay.
That's not our purvey.
I mean,
We're talking about housing.
if we wanted to do this, but we got to get this housing thing done. And
Right.
it just keeps expanding.
It's more critical. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
Yeah, we've got bigger fish to fry for sure.
I don't know if it's bigger, but it's our
Hmm.
purview at this time. Okay, then we go into, so you can see, we have planned unit developments, number 7. They are allowed in R1 and R2. Those would be, it talks about that in 1728, what you can do. It doesn't give you the right to do everything, just because we're going to have cottage dwellings, but those are going to be allowed. That would be like 4 little tiny units. Those
Land
will be in R2. That's where they're showing up. So go to R2, which is the next thing. And you start seeing again some of the same uses.
R2 is on bottom of page 6.
So we have, and the state regulates all this manufactured home and everything. We have some of our own rules we can apply to that. Home occupation. Now, child care facility is crossed out. But child care facility shows up in the conditional uses, I believe. Let's look down there and see. Because a child care facility is a bigger thing.
We have healthcare facility, public use facility.
Maybe it's not.
Oh, no, it's not. It's,
Not in there.
registered family, number 5 in the outright uses,
Oh,
permitted
okay.
outright.
Oh,
For
yeah.
up to 10 children. Okay. So that's
But it says registered family home. Is that
Outright.
different language?
not the same.
Yeah.
That's registered family child care home. No, that's the same thing.
Registered family child care home.
That's the same.
Okay, just
Yeah.
a different name.
No, it's the same name. Registered family.
Oh, yeah, it is the same.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, keep going then and see what we have. Residential care home. Now we're getting into, that's the same thing. Okay, same thing that we had. Okay, then we go down into conditional uses. We have some new conditional uses, like manufactured dwelling park is becoming a conditional use. I think we just had it as an outright use before, just like our RV parks. But we have to, you're going to put a big thing there. You have to think about, you just don't plop that down like barracks in the middle. I mean,
No.
that's what I saw.
Any conditions?
I thought was going to happen before, possibly.
Like barracks.
And unfortunately, I said it at a meeting, but then people said that they were going to do landscaping, but we didn't require it, and we should we should try to make them be nice. Okay. So we keep going on down here. There's a lot of new, changed language. I think this community building.
We're approaching 7:30, and I didn't really want to go long, but I wouldn't mind going like 10 minutes more.
Hey, let's try to get one more zone, Dennis.
Let's try
okay with
to,
people.
yeah. But and then I want to leave a couple minutes just to chat for a second.
Okay. So down here at the bottom of page 7, we have cottage residential. That's a new use. So that's a conditional use. So let's go to the conditional uses and see what it says about cottage residential. So conditional use permit, page 21 is where they start. And I think cottage residential is all along the way. Yes. Sounds like my cat. Cottage residential, page 27. This is all new.
New in the state code.
No, this is a made-up one
Hmm.
because they had cottage, God, I forget what they called it, cottage something. But
Cluster.
it,
Cottage cluster.
cottage cluster, yeah.
Mhm.
But what they required was very onerous and it really didn't fit our town. It was saying that you had to have, it wouldn't be affordable housing
Hmm.
because it said you had to have a space for recreation, you had to have this, you had to have that. That's nice, but we don't have that big of subdivisions. So this cottage residential is limited. I mean, you can have a minimum of 4 dwellings. So you could do it on a little lot in the C2 zone.
Mhm.
And the idea is, let's try to make something that might fit our community because we can't, if we have cottage cluster, that's something that will probably not happen for a long time here because it's requires all this stuff and nobody wants to do that. They're not building big subdivisions like they are in Portland.
So cottage residential, we're calling it.
But
Permitted
that's what I'm
as-
proposing, and you
Awesome.
can see this
I like
is
it.
all new,
For a group of small housing units.
so that they could have, they're 900 square feet, I think that's what the definition is.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. Does it say that somewhere? Let's
In
see.
the definitions, I think.
The one on Arizona Street, that would be considered a cottage residential, I think. And there are more than 4 units there.
They don't have cottage, they didn't have anything called cottage residential.
Well, back then, yes, but something like
No, but they
that.
could go more than 4. We're just saying if they want to go into this,
Minimum of 4.
Okay.
yeah, then they have to have at least 4,
Got
so
it.
that it really is.
What is
doing
it?
something.
What is the
Because
definition?
otherwise
again?
they can have a triplex or a duplex.
Was our definitions were from last week?
They're in there. They're in the beginning.
Oh, they are. Let's see.
Let's.
Oh,
let's
this
see
is
what
it.
kind-
Is it
Before we
permitted?
close out this thing, I know we're getting in a hurry, so let's just see what we have for cottage residential.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it's in here. Childcare, cottage residential, all new, includes 4 or more single-family detached dwelling units that are no more than 900 square feet in size, organized to comply with planned unit development requirements of the Port Orford Municipal Code. Cottage residential may be processed as one of the following: a subdivision processed through Title 16 and Chapter 1728, rental or lease units under one ownership processed through Chapter 1728.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to get something that
Mhm.
maybe somebody can do.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do you want me to stop there?
Well, let's.
Should we go
that's all we have
through
to say
cottage
about
residential?
Cottage residential.
Well, I guess we could look at what it involves. People maybe should read it, page
Mhm.
27, and it goes on to 28.
Yeah, let's just, I've read it a couple times. Has everybody
So-
read this?
So it'll have,
This is a conditional use permit, as is a planned unit development.
it'll have proposed streets.
Yes, and so you guys would make the decision of whether you're going to let them be smaller than normal streets.
Mm-hmm. Well, like the RV park, that's probably determined by the fire.
I would think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There'll be minimums.
Fires,
There'll be-
yeah. There'll be minimums, 20 feet or something.
So you have 2 options for who's going to manage the street. Public street, you could put them all on the public street. Built to city specifications,
And it's up to the developer to how they want to do it, whether they want to.
yeah. Now, the interesting thing is that I don't see how you could put 4 little tiny things like that with their own accesses.
You wouldn't have a real street, would you?
Wouldn't be very good.
Well, it'd defeat the idea.
So I don't know if
Clusters
that's written right, but
Well, it seems like I've seen them where, and we worked on a subdivision in Albany where we had an alley behind, And some of the streets were tiny and the driveways were tiny, but because it was a planned development, it worked. I don't know how people could park in some of those driveways, but
I don't know about frontage access on a public street.
Well, we have those, Guy
Hey,
Vernon has done some.
like on Idaho Street, you could have a cluster on Idaho Street.
They're all on Idaho.
Yeah.
But what if they had like a little thing that went in?
Private, that'd be a private, they'd have to do that.
Then they'd have to have a homeowners association to oversee it.
Mm,
So they can either do that, they can either build a road and make it their own, or they just do it on a street that's there.
right.
But they have to have a street.
And I don't, hopefully if you have experience with this and you see something that won't work, you need to speak, because Guy Vernon.
somebody presents
wanted-
something and I can look at it. I
Yeah.
haven't,
Guy Vernon wanted us to do something like this, but when it came down to it, I don't think he wanted to be in charge of the street, and that was the problem.
Yeah,
On that
when
one.
it came
That
down
was
to
a
it.
different one
Mhm.
than the one that he did.
Right.
So then it says no, what about parking spaces on the next page, 28?
Let's find it.
2 spaces for parking shall be
Spaces for
provided.
Parking for each lot? Each
Subdivision lot or otherwise a common parking area may be organized to include 1.5 parking spaces for each dwelling with a parking maintenance plan to be shared by the owners.
Do we
See,
have-
Mhm.
Do our subdivision plans have required parking? Is this new?
well, we're talking about little cottages. It is new, and you may not think it's appropriate because it might be requiring the
Well, not-
cottages to have
yeah.
something we don't require normal.
900 square feet is pretty big. I mean, that's the size of our current house.
Oh, yeah, 900 is pretty good size.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things.
So I don't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should leave it there and think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should think about that parking thing.
I
I think we should read through all these.
I
and
think
just,
I just threw it in there because I was trying to think. So we have these little tiny things on a lot.
and where do people park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a normal subdivision, they are putting space for those in there.
Yeah, well, we're not in a city. We don't
We're
have
not
public
requiring.
transportation. Everybody's got a car.
2 cars, 3 cars,
Yeah.
plus a trailer.
Just one car. So I think we should look and see what else if we have elsewhere in our code.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to resolve that.
But a planned development can get by without all that stuff. I've seen it
Really?
happen where like I said, the house is 12 feet back from the street
So maybe we don't want this.
And they park on the street.
and then there's hardly any street parking and
Yeah.
you just wonder,
And that's what it turns into in the
But
city.
especially because we're going to let these, like in the C1 zone, there's no limit.
there is one under construction now. Is there something going on now that I don't know about?
No, but I mean, in the C1 zone,
Oh,
they don't have to have any size lot.
right.
So,
A regular house has room on the lot for the most part for parking. So I don't know.
Just revisit that
Setbacks
maybe.
in the Driveway,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
So, okay, then we have can't be utilized for vacation
Mhm.
rentals. So they have to put that into the deed provisions or onto
Mhm.
the final subdivision plat, that they will not be vacation rentals.
Right.
And then,
Good.
they have to be separated somehow from, from the rest of the neighborhood if we're gonna be allowing them where everybody else has to have a 5,000 square foot lot. That's why that's in there, about fenced yards or 10 feet of landscaping.
Then you have some design considerations.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just a way to So that
Make
they're
them
not little
cute.
barracks.
Mm-hmm.
Little boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the same design things we have
It's
in the
reasonable.
Battle Rock zone.
I think it's very
Mhm.
reasonable.
Shutters.
So that's where we're trying to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're in the conditional uses zone in R2, so that's what we'll come back to. When we
Yes.
start again, we'll be in conditional uses R2.
So we've done the
we've done-
conditional uses in R2.
Have we done all of them? Okay. Oh,
Well, I hope so. Let's see.
okay. Well, we'll move on to 4C then.
Yeah.
And whatever else we come up with.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for masterfully
Mhm.
understanding this.
Nice work.
Presenting.
I understand it and then I forget it, you know.
Nice work.
Okay, I'm going to move on now.
You
Uh,
understand it and then you forget it.
Planning clearances approved since last meeting.
So much stuff.
We got any of those, Joseph?
One person on Flake Street is building a deck. That's it.
Yeehaw. Okay, thank you. City planner comments.
No, thank you.
City planning commission comments.
I should probably say that my term is up on the planning commission, and I have decided not to reapply. I know, because I only have 2 years left with my son at home, and you know, after 2 years, I'll have a whole lot more time.
We'll
So,
welcome you back.
Yeah.
If we can't find enough people that live in the city, we hope we still have one that.
Well, I am actually
lasts
moving.
forever.
I am actually moving out of the city limits as well, but I don't think we're.
You
Yeah.
can still be on the
I
commission.
could
You're in
still.
the urban growth boundary though, right?
I would
We
be
can
in the
have
urban
two
growth
people.
boundary. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really difficult decision, but I just went away for a couple weeks and realized that I needed to have more time at home where I wasn't doing things that didn't have anything to do directly with my family. So
That'll
You
do it.
mentioned you have a child
Yeah.
at home. I go, okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
you're good. You're doing
When
the
is
right
your
thing.
term up?
in September. Yeah, I think it's September.
So do you have
We have
a replacement in mind?
I did. I haven't reached out to them yet, but they're also in the urban growth. Is Knapp Road in the urban growth boundary? Or is that
Where?
Knapp Road?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the boundary
Part of it
ends,
is, I think.
the city boundary ends at Blueberry.
Oh, okay. So Blueberry is further north, right, than Knapp Road, or is,
Yeah,
I
because
missed-
I
Well,
had
anyway.
Joseph look it up for me.
yeah.
Anyway,
But I don't know. You're welcome. Yeah,
thank you for your service.
I'm pretty sure it's this month. I don't know if anybody's really keeping track, to be honest, but
So this
Well,
would be,
look up your form and let us
yeah.
know.
Okay. I mean, I hate to abandon in the middle of this housing.
That is an
Thing.
abandonment.
Well, you
I
can still
know.
come.
I mean, I can still come and I can
can
still
still come
provide
like me.
feedback.
You can be over on that
Yeah.
side of the table with.
I know.
Consultant.
Yeah.
wow.
True.
Other comment. Thank you. Other comments.
Welcome.
I would like to make a comment. I am interested in a future topic, not tonight, but at some point talking about compliance, code compliance. I've been looking
Enforcement.
into code
Enforcement.
compliance
Mm-hmm.
enforcement. It's
Yeah.
very complicated. There's very many levels of it, and I'm just looking at it and trying to get my mind around it. At first, I was very optimistic, but at least identifying and getting things on record, I think, would be a start. There's levels of how you do this. You identify, you notify, that you legally do this stuff, but I think we should at least do some lower levels.
There's different ways to notify and there's
Yeah.
different,
So
there's
I'm
all
looking
kinds
at-
of different ways to do it.
I'm looking into that, and I'm
Yeah.
interested in that. So I just want to say that. And
Fully support that.
so next date would be October 8th, and I believe we said we would meet again back to 3:30
Well, or 4 at least.
or 4.
Yeah, I mean, we never said.
What's better for you?
I can live with 4. I just don't want to be coming down here and leaving in the dark.
Well, then 3:30 is
Days are
better.
getting
Let's do
shorter.
3:30.
Yeah. I'd just soon do that.
just while we're doing this housing.
Let's say, let's go to 3:30
Works for me.
to give you,
Mhm.
then you make sure you get home and you're, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Clear. Okay, so I'm just by unanimous consent, our next meeting will be October 8th, 3:30. That's it. And then, do we need to have a meeting before then and go through more of this? Would you say, Crystal? Like, should we meet in 2 weeks and really get, because we really finally got stuff. Do you think we need to do that, or can we wait for another month?
Joseph and I have to start looking at how to get all the people in town on a mail out list. And because I was looking at when we have to have our hearings, and they're coming up pretty soon. So.
Pretty soon as in,
Answer to your question, but.
pretty soon as in
I
a
think
couple
in
months?
October, we should, sometime in October, maybe not next week or something, because there's still stuff
It would have to be 2 weeks.
towards the end of October. Maybe we could be having a special meeting.
We're doing this because the state is requiring it, or
Well, the
We're just trying to
state
get
has all these laws, and the only way we got money was to get a grant.
So we got a grant that's going to run out. So there's a time schedule. So we got a ticket. We're trying to.
But we're also required to have a certain number of public meetings and hearings. We have to solicit input. Were you at the,
We've done all
Meeting
those.
that we
I
had?
mean, we've been doing enough.
we had a
So we're on
public
track.
meeting?
But
Yeah.
not doing
So
long workshops.
I guess the question is, do we need another meeting before our next meeting? And I'm trying to make it simple, but maybe.
I think we should have our next meeting and just do what we were starting to do tonight. And I hope we have time to do it.
Okay.
Spend some more time.
Joseph, do we know of something coming up that's going to be big, that's going to take like half of our meeting? Do you have a CUP in the works or anything that's going to maybe take us
Partitions.
time?
Not that I can think of. There's one lot line adjustment going on, but it should be able to be approved administratively. I can't, at this time, think of any other major things the planning commission would be looking at, but, knock on wood with that, because with my luck, I'm going to say we have nothing going on, and then tomorrow we get 3 applications for conditional use permits.
We can also, it'll be easier to go past the time limit since we're starting earlier if we need to squeeze
Well,
in
that's
more
true.
time.
And I suggest we just go with the October 8th, and if we have to do an emergency meeting after that because we get blocked up, we'll do it.
And we might-
Okay.
But let's just move forward with the October 8th.
And then Greg has offered to sit down with me at sometime in October or November, maybe, to just, before we go into public hearings, to make sure that I haven't forgotten something or missed something. It's so hard because you're in a little bigger city. You have an attorney looking at this stuff. You have another planner looking at this stuff. You have engineers that will look at their portion. And the little cities are honestly the hardest because it's like, I don't want to make some
Look who's here.
mistake. And it's like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we realize that there's a whole section that doesn't fit together or something. So he's going to go through it with me. And certainly if somebody else wanted to join us, it would be fine. The more eyes, the better.
So you're going to remove all the, changes and highlighting and bolding and crossouts and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're going to leave those in because
Mm.
we have to have those
Oh.
for the city council
Oh, I see.
and the planning, the public
Yeah.
hearings.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to do a whole bunch of renumbering and stuff because
Yeah.
the system won't let you renumber
Mm-hmm.
unless you start over all the time.
Right. Word is so, yeah.
And they came off
Frustrating.
the only way I can get them now is off the website. And those really have a bunch of built-in crap.
Yeah. So
I
copy
mean,
and
it's just
pasting.
like, well,
Yeah.
you can't number that way, we're doing it this way.
Okay, so we're going to move forward. We're going to have the meeting on the 8th. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, sir. Thank you. gonna say one more thing.
Meeting adjourned.
Adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Isn't that the next thing?
So this is your last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sakes.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
Well,